What's up, everybody? King Triple C here, the Olympic champion, flyweight champion, the bantamweight champion of the world. And I got a public service announcement to all you wannabe MMA casuals or MMA fans for that reason. You guys make sure to listen to my boy Story of the Fight with Will and Miro. You know why? Because Triple C said so. And if you don't, you can do me a favor and you can bend the knee to King Triple C 2.
So what's up, Will?
Oh, you know, just chilling. Just chilling, you know.
Anything exciting happened this week?
Not really. I don't know if you've been following Cespedes is missing.
Oh yeah. No, Matt sent me something saying that he just hasn't shown up.
Yeah, oh wait, he just actually opted out of the season. They found him. So he's good, but he's opting out.
Well, he didn't communicate with anybody?
I guess they didn't know what was going on. So
I mean, that's a very irresponsible way of Cespedes to just opt out of a season.
Yeah, who knows though? It could have been something that the Mets did that pissed him off and he was like, fuck you guys. But still,
yeah.
You're an adult. Unless something tragic happened, I don't know. Something tragic might have happened where he was like, I have to deal with this. I'm not going to spend my time saying, hey, I'm done. You know, I got more urgent matters to take care of. Who knows? But I do need to message that in the fantasy league because Spears just traded for him. So
I know. It was hilarious. I saw that and I was like, oh, well. I finally set my lineup a couple times.
Matt just tried to trade him to me too this morning. And he was like, so yeah, if they find him and everything's cool, he'll still be on your team. I'm like, wait, let me wait and see if
if they find him. If he comes up and he's not missing. That's hilarious. Well, hopefully, everything's all right.
Yeah, I hope everything's all right.
I'm talking shit right now saying that it's an irresponsible way to kind of opt out of the season, but you never know.
Yeah, who knows what he was doing, you know? I'm not going to...
Yeah.
There were some people tweeting, like reporters tweeting stuff about like while he was still missing and nobody knew what was going on. They're already tweeting like, oh, he's still going to make $2 million this year if he even if he just doesn't show up. And it's like, dude, he could be dead. Like,
yeah,
just wait for that tweet.
All those reporters would feel like straight assholes if something were to come out and be like, yo, we found his body.
Yeah.
Like, ugh. Delete the tweet.
Yeah, and it's not like it hasn't happened before. Like that's happened in baseball before, you know?
Yeah, man. God, what was the young pitcher's name?
Fernandez, right? Yeah, on the Marlins.
Yeah, from the Marlins. That was rough, dude.
That's brutal. I really like that guy, too. He was cool. That. He was super cool.
Oh, yeah. He was fun to watch.
Yeah.
Great pitcher. And just too much cocaine on a speedboat, man.
That'll happen in the middle of the night?
That'll do it.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully we never hear of anything like that from John Jones. There's no crazy-ass boating accidents to report from John Jones yet.
Not yet.
Dude, let's hope that never happens, man. Knock on wood.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever surprise me. If something comes out outlandish that he's done, it'll. At this point, how could you be surprised?
If I read anything like that, I'll be like, oh man, it's just another day in John Jones' world, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's his world. I'm just living in it, man. Did you get to watch all the fights?
Yeah, I started from the beginning. Did you go back and watch a couple of the early ones or no?
No, man. The only thing I really caught was from Jonathon Martinez and Frankie Saenz on.
Okay, so you missed the Jamall Emmers Cachero fight?
Yeah.
Yeah. Emmers looks good. We don't have to spend a ton of time on it. He looks good. He's just very he's not polished yet, you know? There's still holes in the game. He's a little reckless, but he looks good. He's going to be, and he's young, so I think there's a bright future for him, you know?
Right on, man. Yeah. I mean, I enjoyed the first fight I watched, like I was saying, with Martinez.
Yeah, that's before we even talk about any of the fights, let's just talk about how weird the whole card was. Were you following how insane this card was?
Dude, it was like a soap opera.
Dude.
Twists and turns.
12 canceled or changed fights.
Yeah.
12.
A lot of people are calling it the cursed card.
Yeah. I mean, two people fainted day of.
Yeah.
One fight gets canceled 5 minutes before it's supposed to start. Like, what the fuck?
Man, if there would have been another card to put together for an attempt of Khabib versus Ferguson again,
Yeah,
this would have been it.
this would have
And it
been
would
it.
have just added to, and it would have been like the sixth cancel time.
Yeah. But that's what I want to talk about that real quick, just because of the Martinez fight is no exception to it. Martinez missed weight by like 4.5 pounds or something like that. And it sucks
Yep.
because that guy is super talented, really exciting to watch him fight, but like, do your job, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
exciting fighter in the bantamweight division, you know, and coming in. You know what? We'll start off with the question I had for you, Will. How about that?
All right.
Because my question for you is just this: fighters that are missing weight.
Yeah.
No, so as of right now, what is it? 20% of their purse or 30% of their purse, depending on how much they miss weight by.
I think by default it's 20, and then they can still negotiate further with the opposing fight. Like Saenz got, I think, 30% of Martinez's
30%.
purse, but I think it starts at a level, and then like Saenz can be like, no, I want more than that, and then they can go back and forth a little bit, I think.
So last year, 2019, was a record year for the UFC for the amount of fighters that missed weight. And I know that that's something that's huge for Dana White, right? He talks about your level of professionalism. And you just said right now, do your job. It's part of your job. My question to you, Will, is the punishment for missing weight right now severe enough? And if not, what would you do?
Yeah, my gut reaction tells me that it's not severe enough. Because you look at fighters like Yoel Romero, who have missed weight and then won a fight handedly, and then now they're in a title shot. Like, I don't know what else to do because you don't want to cancel the fight because it's not fair to the whoever is the opponent, right? I don't know if it's something that needs to be more stakes monetarily. Like, I don't know if you deserve to lose 50% of your check, but I think maybe on top of the 30%, I don't know, man. You shouldn't be able to get a title shot off of a fight you missed weight. That should be guaranteed. If you say it's like a title eliminator fight, you miss weight, you shouldn't be able to get a title shot after that, in my opinion, if you win. Obviously, if it is a championship fight and you win, you don't get the belt. Like, that's what sucks about Whitaker is those fights aren't technically classified as him defending the belt against Yoel because Yoel missed weight. So it doesn't count as a title defense, which sucks because it's one of those things where we've talked about it before, where if the story of the fight is, we know here and now, hey, Romero missed weight. This technically, it should count as I see it as a title defense for Whitaker. But then 5 years down the line, when you're looking at Whitaker's legacy and you're just looking at the stats, that's not listed as a title defense. So it's like you start to forget those details, and that sucks for someone who's a champion in that situation. And then it just I'm not sure I know the answer. What do you think?
Man, I don't agree with just a 30%.
Yeah.
Right, 20% or 30%. I think that it should be larger fines. I'm not opposed to the 50%, right? Because a big part of the fighter's job is showing up at the weight that they signed up for.
Yeah.
Right? If you're a fighter and you know you have a hard time making bantamweight, then just move up in weight.
Yeah.
And I know that it'd be possibly tougher depending on the size of the next weight up for these fighters. Not everybody's going to be as successful as Gastelum when he moves up a weight class. But you said it yourself, do your job. It's a part of your job in the fight game is making sure that you come in on weight. And it's extremely unfair. You know, if it was an automatic default, right? Let's say that Martinez here was getting 30 to show and 30 to win.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's what he's getting, but let's just say that that's the case.
Yeah.
Then what if the fighter automatically got half of his purse and half of Martinez's purse if they decided not to fight, right? Because I completely agree with you. Martinez is kind of stuck. He's in a bad situation no matter what. If he says, well, I don't want to fight this guy, the UFC is not going to pay him.
You mean Saenz?
He's been... Saenz, sorry. If Saenz shows up, he says, I don't want to fight Martinez because of the fact that he missed weight by 4.5 pounds. UFC's not going to pay him. He's been in camp for I don't know how long. He has bills to pay to, mouths to feed to. So at that point, you're like, well, screw it. I guess I'm going to fight him.
Yeah.
Right? He's coming in with an advantage. And a lot of fighters have said that those last 5 pounds, a lot of times is what takes the largest toll on your body.
Yeah.
So
and your mind.
He's going to come in a little bit fresher. And your mind, exactly. So you're already coming in with a huge advantage if you're Martinez. Of your signs, you feel like you're between a rock and a hard place, so you're going to take the fight.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I think that should happen is the fighter that misses weight, if they decide to still fight, would you still count it as a W if they win? Or would you count it as no contest?
I know, yeah.
So
I thought of that too.
Yeah, at this point, if Saenz wins, so Saenz is fighting for a W.
Mm-hmm.
Martinez is fighting for either no contest, or if the fight's called off, why not just put an L on his record?
Yeah.
But there has to be more going on behind this, because for these fighters, I mean, sure, they're not going to win a bonus, but they're still going to get a show purse and a win purse.
Yeah.
Right? So something has to happen where these fighters are going to think twice before they touch the food they're not supposed to be touching, or they decide to take an extra week before they start cutting weight.
Yeah.
Right? And it's possible. Aldo had a hard time making 145.
Yeah.
And now he's making 135 with ease.
Yeah.
And the biggest difference is he got a nutritionist. He's
it
changed
just takes
to more cardio.
Discipline, more work.
Exactly. It takes more discipline, more work. So for those fighters that are deciding not to take a more disciplined approach and not to put in extra work, there needs to be larger consequences.
Yeah.
So that they come in better prepared.
Yeah, because right now, I'm sure they might not admit to it, but they might say, I'm fine with losing 30% of my purse because if I get this win, I'm still moving up the rankings. I don't know if it should be, in my opinion, it should almost be like handicapped what their even potential next fight can be. Like I said, like if it's a title eliminator that they're in right now, they can't get a title shot. But what if they get the win? Because Martinez isn't ranked super high. What if it makes it so you cannot fight a higher ranked opponent in your next fight, regardless of where you are in the rankings? What if it forces you don't move up the ladder, which then you can argue the rankings are bullshit, right? Because it's not actual UFC rankings, it's just media rankings. So
yeah. So
there's no like standard there really. I don't know. It sucks because I think monetary wise, it's not really, it doesn't really matter to them. I'll take less money if I continue, because if I win, it doesn't matter. I'll get paid, whatever. Not as much as I would have before, but I still climb the ladder, and ultimately that's what matters to most fighters.
Yep. Exactly.
And he gets and it sucks because he gets I mean, it was a fantastic performance from Martinez. He looked flawless. He was in the flow state instantly. Perfect display of setting up. He could land 3 different strikes, and it can look like one strike to you. So you have no idea. It looks like one thing, and it can be 3 things. And he did that flawlessly the whole fight. Gets a highlight reel finish, but it's like, the fuck, dude, you missed weight. So like, I hate when a performance like that. Too. Yeah, I hate when there's a performance like that and it's tainted by you missed weight. So what if, like, I mean, you didn't fight at your weight class that you're supposed to fight at. Yeah, that's ultimately what it is. You did not fight at the weight class you're supposed to fight at. You fought a smaller guy. Granted, who knows what they are day of fight weight wise, but you didn't hit the requirement, so you were not fighting at that weight class.
Yeah, since 2014, the amount of fighters that have missed weight continues increasing, and I think back, to maybe like a BJ Penn and a Frankie Edgar that were fighting in some of the heavier weight classes, right? So maybe they should have been cutting weight before, and more fighters these days are trying to cut weight to a smaller division so they can try to be more dominant. But still, again, as a professional, if you're making the decision to be more disciplined, to put more work in so that you can make that that division, then just be consistent with it.
Yeah.
Or just don't do it at all.
What year did you say it was?
I believe it was 2014. Just if you take a look, well, every year the number has increased year over year over year, with last year being the record for the UFC of most fighters that have missed weight.
Well, how about 2015 is when they banned IVs. So could be some correlation there. Could be just a coincidence, you know?
Could be. And I like your idea. You're saying they're not allowed to maybe move up in the rankings, fight another fighter that's higher up in the rankings. What if the penalty carries over? So whenever you miss weight, it's extended 30% for that fight and then 30% for your next fight. If you miss weight on your next fight, then that goes up to 40%.
Yeah.
Or maybe, it's just like in the MLB. If you get caught with steroids, it's a harsher punishment with every time you get caught, right?
Yeah, it could
very
also
much
be
like USADA now as well.
Yeah, it could also be I don't know. What would you think about like a suspension? What if you get suspended for like 6 or 7 months? Granted, you probably aren't going to fight that quick of a turnaround anyways, but it could...
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, that's the problem with...
If I'm Martinez, I get suspended for 6 months. It doesn't mean I can't train for 6 months. As soon as my 6 months are up,
yeah.
I was probably planning on only fighting twice or 3 times in a year either way.
Yeah.
So I'll try to get 2 more fights in the last 6 months. It's possible. And I can still hit my goal of 3 fights in a year. I don't think that's harsh enough either. Yeah,
well, but what if it's... I'm not saying that as an only punishment, but what if it's compounded with everything else,
Sure. I mean, there you go. 6 month suspension, let's say, with every time you miss weight, I would say 3 strikes you're out. You miss weight, 30% of your purse. Miss weight on your next fight, 50% of your purse. Miss weight a third time, no ands, ifs, or buts about it, you're cut from the UFC.
I don't think it should be cut from the UFC. I think it should be you're now forced to fight at the weight class above wherever you're fighting, Yeah,
well, if you're a fighter, though, wouldn't you make that decision instead of the UFC making it for you? Because I'm responsible for my own career, right? So I miss weight the first time. Shit, there goes 30% of my purse.
Mm-hmm.
I miss weight a second time. At that point, I'm not only pissed because I'm losing 50% of my purse, but now I have to start taking into consideration that if I miss weight one more time, I'm getting cut from the UFC. So now I come to Dana White and I say, hey, I don't want to miss weight another time. I don't want to risk missing weight another time and getting kicked out of the UFC. I'm now moving up to the lightweight division, or I'm now moving up to whatever other divisions right above me.
Yeah,
because
but I mean,
putting more responsibility on the fighter.
Yeah, but the problem with that I have with that is sometimes shit happens where I'm not trying to make excuses for missing weight, but sometimes there is a legit reason someone had to miss weight, And I feel like if, say, I'm 2 strikes down and one of those happens to me, and now I'm cut from the UFC, that sucks. You know what I mean? Like, because it can happen. Like Spicely, his body completely shut down on him for this fight card. He missed weight, and it was his first time fighting with while taking the antidepressants that he's on, and he had like some weird reaction because of the antidepressants. I don't want to kick him out of the UFC for that. You know what I mean? That sucks. I'm not saying it's
but that would have been his
excuse.
Is that his first time missing weight though?
I'm not sure. Probably, I would imagine. I don't remember.
And that's the thing. I think that once somebody hits it a third time, it's not the exception for them. It's the rule.
True. Yeah, true.
And that's where my thing, for somebody to have 3 opportunities and for you to fail every single time, there's a pattern.
Yeah.
And that's when I think the UFC should take a look at that and say, well, you have this pattern. You're a habitual line stepper, as Charlie Murphy used to say. Habitual.
Yeah.
Right? So at that point, there's something else going on.
Yeah,
you need
true.
to get your shit together, go fight in the LFA, wherever else, and then we'll come find you later on if you're doing well. But again, I think it's because it's so lax right now where a fighter says, well, 4 pounds, oh well, right?
Yeah.
Goes in with an advantage, beats the shit out of Saenz. Saenz is super tough, man. His toughness, nobody's doubting it. There was a few times, especially in the second round, where I thought he was going to go down. He buckled a few times. Body shots that were, taking him out. Kicks to the midsection.
A lesser fighter would have turned over and given up a choke or something like that in those situations.
Yeah, man.
People act
So
like that doesn't happen, but that's a very real thing that happens.
I was again impressed with Martinez's performance, but even him at the end during his interview said, "Hey, first of all, I want to start off by saying I'm sorry I missed weight. It's never going to happen again. Let's hope it doesn't." But even he's kind of putting an asterisk next to his performance in a way for him missing weight.
Yeah, and he should.
So yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you for answering my question, Will.
Yeah.
I think it kind of, this is one of the ones I would love to hear from listeners to see if anybody had any different ideas, see what they think, because I'm sure somebody has the answer out there. Very much like judging, right? That one company is the one that does the worldwide judging. What's it called? You know what I'm talking about?
No,
I'll try to find it for the next podcast and call them out. But they're always advertising, and it sounds like that's an answer for getting better judging for the fight. So I'm sure that there's somebody out there that kind of has a better answer for these missed weight cuts.
Yeah, I'm sure. That's the thing. It's like, it seems like there's a few issues that stand out with MMA still. I mean, it's still such a new sport. It's huge now, but it's still so new compared to other sports that have like fine-tuned all these different things, It's just, It's too young to have all those things fixed. But it takes a group kind of effort of everybody looking at one problem and a bunch of different opinions coming together, and then we can pick and choose little things from everybody else's opinion, and now we have kind of a solution. And I think, judging, punishments for certain things. I wish they'd bring back yellow and red cards from Pride.
Oh, Pride, huh?
Yeah.
Pride style?
Yeah, because I mean, if I'm fighting and I'm legit stalling, there's no real, the only thing that can happen to you is you might get stood up, and most refs are gun shy for standing up fighters and stuff. But I mean, with the Pride rules, you start getting carded. That's just your money going to the other fighter. If that's not the best incentive not to stall, that's a pretty damn good incentive, No, imagine if you were stalling and I stood you up, and then you can just shoot for a takedown again, get it, and stall, and then I can stand you up, but you're still getting the top control, all that stuff. But imagine the first time I stand you up, I also pull out a yellow card, and you lose 10% of your purse to the other fighter. You'd be like, fuck, not doing that again.
Yeah, I mean, I would definitely think twice about it.
Yeah.
For sure, man. So, hey, one of the things that you mentioned was Giles passing out before you got to do the walkout versus Holland. And this is a fight I was looking forward to as well, man, because Holland's a local guy for me.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that,
Yeah. He fights out of Fort Worth. One of the first local events I went to over here. Yeah, man, he is 2 hours ahead of everybody. One of the local events that I go to over here, XKO, put on local fights. I want to say it was January 2018, so recently after I moved over here that I saw Holland fight over here, defend his middleweight belt in XKO.
Nice.
So he's somebody that I followed. When he went into Bellator, I think he had like one fight in Bellator, then into the UFC.
Yeah.
And somebody that I think could be a very exciting fighter in that weight division. So I kind of feel for Holland too.
Yeah, that sucks.
For these fighters that get their fight pulled, a day, 2 days before the fight. We're talking this guy got his fight pulled 5 minutes before he walked out. And from what I was reading, he found out about it through the broadcast. So he was watching.
Well, I mean,
heard.
I mean, it's not like he's around. He couldn't have seen it happening. He's in his locker room getting ready, all that stuff. But you got the monitors out there. Makes sense, that they would report it as soon as they found out.
Yeah, man. So it sucks. And, I was waiting to see what Giles could do too. He's won one out of his last 3 fights. And the last fight he had against James Krause in February was a controversial win.
Yeah.
So technically, he could be coming off of a 3-fight losing streak. I don't think he would have been able to beat Holland. And maybe I'm just being a homer right now.
No, because I had myself, and the odds. What were the odds on that? The odds were they don't say because it was canceled, so they pull it off. Well,
minus 300.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Minus 300 Holland.
Yeah, that makes sense. I thought Holland was going to win that. props to him for trying to, and who knows if he was really trying to, but he's throwing out. He wants to fight. What was it, Ed Herman? Because Ed Herman's fight got canceled, so he's trying to fight that. Dana said that they were trying to track Herman down, and he had already moved on. He might have been already drunk or something. I don't know. It wasn't able to come back and fight.
He had already hopped on a flight or something like that. I don't know how legit that is, but
yeah, who knows?
I think Holland was really trying to throw down.
Why not? He had a whole training camp. And Dana also said that they're working on getting him a fight like really soon. So it's not like he has to wait very long. But what sucks about that is you have now that weird full training camp plus a little bit more, which that little bit more, you don't want to overtrain, but you also don't want to let off the gas. And now you're not in good it just sucks. It's going to be interesting to see what he shows up with if they do have a quick turnaround. But I'd imagine he'd still be good. I'm super high on Holland. That guy's sick.
So am I, man. And one of his striking coaches, Derwin Lamb, another local guy. He owns a Lamb Striking Academy over here in Fort Worth as well. And I think he's one of the most underrated coaches.
Oh yeah,
that I've seen. And I'm not just talking about local, man. When I see him over here at all the local fights, it seems like he has a really solid relationship with all his fighters. Like he's able to really connect with them. I know James Vick has trained with him a few times. Again, Holland's training with him. There's another local guy, Austin Powers, like the movie.
Yeah.
But his name's Austin Powers, really good local fighter as well. So I'm excited to see what these fighters that have been working with Derwin Lamb are able to continue doing.
Yeah.
So props to all the local fighters over here coming out of Fort Worth.
Yeah. Did you see Giles' Instagram post?
No, I didn't.
He said, got held overnight in the hospital. Apparently I have heart irregularities that may be the cause of all this. Just had a heart cardiogram this morning, waiting for the good news, and back to Houston I go. I will enjoy my family, assure all my loved ones that I'm okay, then I will prepare to handle some unfinished business. Thanks for all the love and concern. So he seems like he's fine now. Kind of scary that it could be a potential heart irregularity. Hopefully it's nothing, I don't know if I was a fighter and I had heart irregularities, I don't know if I would continue pursuing that path, that could be scary.
Well, props to the commission for not letting him fight, because when they did show footage in the back, it looked like, we weren't listening, right? But it looked like his corner and him were trying to convince the commission to allow him to go out. So I'm glad the commission didn't let him go out there, because it could be a lot worse since we don't know exactly what it is.
Yeah, why take the gamble?
Dana White had posted something that it was his anxiety that had gotten to him, severe anxiety before he walked out, which again, only the fighters that have made the walk to the octagon know exactly what that feeling's like, and it could take a toll on somebody. But probably hold off on sending out a text or a tweet saying that it's anxiety when he's going through heart testing right now. I don't know.
It goes back to the Cespedes thing. Like, it seems like he's fine now, but just why are you trying to be? Why make a statement before you know what's going on?
Yeah.
I get the feeling like you need to report on it or you need to speak on it, but let's just maybe hold off to make sure we know everybody's okay.
Yeah, let the professionals handle that part. By professionals, I mean doctors, not the president of the UFC.
Yeah, not an old boxing manager who took a gamble on a company.
Exactly. Props to him.
If I'm going to reduce him down to everything that you can.
All right, so up next we had Green versus Vannata.
Yeah.
This was a rematch, right, from a 2017 draw?
Yeah. This is my story of the fight.
Talk to me.
Yeah. Just everything. I'm a huge Lando fan. Ever since he made that short notice debut against Tony Ferguson and almost did drop him, almost finished him. Tony says he slipped on a sponsor, but that's Tony being Tony. Lando Vannata, super. I'll watch him fight. I'll watch all of his fights. Gas tank is a little suspect, but his first rounds are some of the most exciting first rounds of any fighter. Super high skilled. So going into this, and their first fight was great. And Bobby Green, I've always been a huge fan of him. He's trained with Yancy Medeiros and the Diaz brothers and all that stuff. And going into this fight, his story is maybe the best story in all of MMA. How familiar are you, or familiar with him are you?
I was going to say, I'm not too familiar with it, and I'm sure some listeners might not be too familiar with this, so if you could just fill us in a little bit.
So I don't know how much he knew his dad. I know his mother, when he was very young, gave him over to the state so that she could pursue her drug addiction. He had at least 2 brothers. I'm not sure how many siblings he had. Hopped around foster care constantly, had phases growing up where being bullied in school. He even talks about how he had like every phase that you could possibly go through growing up. He was in it. He had a full goth phase where he's wearing he had bleached blonde hair, spiked up, eye makeup, all that stuff. Like he's just never knew who he was, you know? He never really knew.
Trying to find himself.
Talks about how he became a chameleon because he had to know how to fit in somewhere because he was constantly moving. He talks about how he's been in 50 different homes growing up. And then in like 2014, one of his brothers was killed in a drive-by. And then 5 months later, his other brother was killed. And he was hiding. The UFC had to have him in different hotels than the rest of the fighters because people were actively trying to find him to kill him. So like just an insane upbringing, just crazy life story. And on top of that, he found his head trainer at a young age, and talks about how that's his father figure. Literally calls him dad. You know, like you're like, oh yeah, I got to talk to my dad about this, and it's literally his head trainer.
Wow.
And he talks about when he what was his last fight was Clay Guida. I think he beat Clay Guida. And after that fight, it was during like when all the protests were like really, really kicking off and stuff. Recent fight. When was that?
I don't know, man, but yeah,
June.
At the very end.
It was in June. Damn, really?
That quick?
That quick, I guess. Damn. June 20th, 2020, yeah. But I mean, yeah, he won that fight, and he's in his post-fight speech, he's talking about there's like all this hatred in the world right now, and like that's not the answer. He said you can't beat hate with hate. You beat it with love. And he was like, look, this is my dad, this is my father. And he pulls his head trainer over, and he's a white guy, right? And he's like, I don't see his color. He doesn't see my color. He's like, I grew up with whites, Asians, blacks, Mexicans. It's all the same to me. Like, I don't care. And just like his personality, like you give him, that's the type of guy the UFC needs to give a platform to. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like just such a real dude. His record doesn't show. I mean, 26-10, but man, he looked almost flawless against Lando this fight. He looked so good.
Yeah, man. With Lando Vannata, when he came in that first round, like you said, super exciting in the first round. Mm-hmm. He reminds me very much of TJ Dillashaw with his movements.
You know, when he gets
down, different angles,
walking,
the hands down, yeah. You know, the way that he constantly switches stances and gives the other fighter a lot to think about. Mm-hmm. As soon as they got past that first round, though, it was green all the way. You know, the way that he would kind of coax Vannata into, trying to punch him, and he would just counter real quick.
His counters,
he'd kind of walk a little bit closer to him with his arms down as well, and he would just shoot from the hip, man.
Yeah.
And it just seemed like everything that Green was hitting him with was hurting Vannata twice as much as Vannata was hurting Green.
Yeah.
Right? But yeah, somebody that for me is a very interesting fighter. And like you said, not just so much because of the work that he was doing inside the octagon, but his post-fight speech, because you know me, Will, I'm a family man.
Yeah.
I love my kids, man, to death. I love my wife. And the speech that he gave afterwards came through as super genuine, man.
Yeah.
Gave me goosebumps. Yeah, to his kids, letting his kids know this is why he does it. And not just that, man, but inspiring others when he's talking about, if I could do this, you could do this. Mm-hmm. And he's not like some guy that's just trying to sell something or trying to promote anything. That's just really him, man. And he comes through as genuine. So I'm a huge fan of his now.
Yeah.
After seeing this, knowing his story, he's the kind of guy that you root for and you just want to see be successful.
Yeah, 100%. That's what I mean.
Where type of story.
If he continues to win, you look at his past fights. He's lost a few decisions in the past. He could very well, and they're close decisions. He could very well be on a 5-fight win streak right now if those decisions went his way. And and it's someone who's kind of had ups and downs his whole career. But I mean, like I said, training with Yancy Medeiros, the Diaz brothers, you can see that style in him while he fights. Just in your face, talking the whole time. Him fighting in the Apex is other than Nick or Nate Diaz, probably the most excited I can be for a fighter, specifically one fighter to fight in the Apex. Because I want to hear everything he's saying in there, because he's just constantly talking to his downfall in some of his fights. But seeing him be able to put it together like that against Lando, who's such a good striker, I just hope to see him keep winning, because he's one of those guys you can go through and like go on YouTube and just watch his interviews one after another, and you can tell he's just like, after everything that he's been through, the fact that he doesn't let that like get in the way of who he is. He doesn't make excuses about where what he's had to overcome to get to where he is. He's just like, nah, like you can do anything. You just have to, like, it's just so sick. And it's the story of the fight for me, not just because it was fight of the night. It did win fight of the night. But also just his backstory is the most exact reason why MMA, in my opinion, is like the greatest sport ever. Like he encapsulates that perfectly. We talk about Joe Louis and all these guys who have overcome all this stuff, and they can fight guys who had everything given to them. They had the best training facilities their whole life, all this stuff. Their dads may have been greats in the sport. But then once you're in there, it's just one person versus one person, and it's just so sick. The reason the sport's what it is.
And you talk about how they were talking during the fight. Both of them were doing a lot of talking.
Yeah.
It seemed like they were having fun in there as well, though. It wasn't just crazy shit talking. There was this funny part, though. I don't know if you noticed, but Vannata kicks him to start off the second round. Leg kicks him, and he looks at him disappointed and says, "Don't leg kick me, man."
Yeah.
And then he responds with a calf kick. Right after that. But I just thought that was hilarious because he just wanted to. It seemed like box.
Yeah.
But not a smart choice because he was getting beat with his boxing. Decides to start going for his legs, and he was just like, "Man, come on, man."
Yeah. Well, also
don't leg kick me. Don't do that.
In the third round, or right before the third round, when they're like, you get the overhead shot of both of them standing there, right? You can hear them talking to each other, like, "What do you have? What do you have?" And you hear Bobby Green go, "It's 2-0. This is 2-0 going into this one." And it's like, shit, dude, it's so sick. I love that you can hear him talk. Like, yeah. And he said I don't think it was the post-fight interview, but I think it was like his like backstage interview, like after the fact, while the fights were still going on. Someone asked him about the shit talking. He was like, "No, we weren't like disrespectfully shit talking each other. It was just, we were just having fun. We were just communicating in there. Like we're just talking, which is so cool."
And that's the thing, you could see it. You could see it. They were having fun, man. And it made me enjoy the fight more as well.
Yeah, a lot of respect between the two of them.
Yeah, and we continue talking about how you could hear the fighters. You could hear the impact of the punches, the kicks. You could hear the fighters talking shit back and forth. Man, I don't know if I wanted to go back to fans again. I'm really starting to like watching these fights with no fans.
Well, it's like Pride back in the day, or like anytime fights are over in Japan, the crowds are silent. They're not cheering constantly like in America or pretty much everywhere else. There's constant crowd noise. They get louder when something happens, but there's constant crowd noise. But in Japan, back in the day, it was silent. And then something happens and they rise up and then back to quiet. You know what I mean? And it's sick because same thing with Pride. You can hear like the sound of the ring. They're moving around in the ring. You can hear the floor of the ring super loud. Like you hear all the impacts, and yeah, it'll never stay no fans just because it's so much wasted money for the organization to not sell tickets. But man, it's so much better. It's so much better without fans.
I love it.
Yeah.
I
think you get better fights. Well, there are opportunities where a crowd goes crazy, and I would imagine that fuels a fighter to go in for a finish. But I mean, you look at Gaethje versus Tony. There's a few times Tony probably could have got that finish when he had Tony hurt. But since there's no crowd, he even said, he's like, I didn't feel like I didn't get amped up in those moments. I was able to kind of sit back and relax.
That adrenaline dump, from just hearing the crowd go nuts.
Yeah, and how many times has Tony been hurt, survive, and then turn the tide right after? How many times is that? That happens all the time. So the fact that Gaethje never overextended in those moments, he was able to stay par for the course and just steadily beat him down, basically. So yeah, interesting dynamic, you know.
Yeah, I enjoy that fight. Huge fan of greens.
Yeah.
Luque versus Brown.
Yeah, this was, man, just textbook Luque. That guy is violent. Yeah. He's fucking violent, dude. What did you think about that one?
I love watching Luque fight, man. I love watching Luque fight. You know, he came in minus 200 favorite.
Yeah.
You know, they gave Luque one official knockdown in the first round. Really should have been two because of that fence grab.
Yeah.
That Brown had. I mean, it was obvious, right?
He would have went down.
Easy. Yeah. And I take a look at, for me, it was Luque's experience in there as well with being in there with other high-level fighters, right?
Specifically Thompson,
right?
That's even a loss you learn from.
Even like a Nico Price, and he's been in there with some really tough fighters, really smart fighters that have been in there in the game for a while. And I think that the way that he was able to finish Brown just showed his experience. And he even talked about it in his post-fight interview where he's like, you know, I just thought if I hold him up enough, he won't be able to put his hands on the ground, which means I can knee him, and I thought I'd be able to finish him, and I finished him the exact way I thought I would be able to.
Yeah.
You know, so I just thought it was a very smart fight by Luque. Like you said, he's extremely violent.
Yeah.
No matter what the rest of the card looks like, if Luque's on the card, I know we're going to get a solid fight somewhere in there.
Yeah, because, and like you just said, brawler Luque, which we've seen in the past against Mike Perry, against Nico Price, even against the big one was Barberena. That was the one that was an insane fight, just a straight brawl.
Oh my god, that was crazy.
Yeah, but his ability to take those shots in a brawl and give the shots in a brawl, and now that he's becoming a more cerebral fighter, still apply that type of damage that he can give and still be able to take shots when he needs to. That's a scary fighter, man. He needs to start fighting higher ranked fighters, in my opinion. You know, like,
he does.
It sucks that it seems like he was on a nice steady path. He fights Stephen Thompson, and now we're down to like not even. I don't think was Randy Brown even in the top 10. I don't think he was he?
No, he wasn't.
Yeah,
he wasn't.
I mean, a loss to Stephen Thompson is. I mean, Stephen Thompson. We've already had the discussion of best to never win a belt. He in another timeline, he wins the belt. You know, he's a champion level fighter. A loss to him is not your stock shouldn't go down if you lose to Thompson. You know.
No, I agree. You know, and I think with this last fight too, Brown definitely didn't benefit from the smaller octagon.
No.
With his size and his length, you know, he probably would have liked having more movement and being able to keep his distance a little bit more.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it was just a perfect situation for Luque. Either way, I still think Luque comes away with it, even if they're in a larger octagon.
Well, yeah, because they even talked about it in the broadcast. Randy Brown, he's really good with his jab. And Luque opening up with those low-line calf kicks over and over and over again. You have no jab.
Genius.
You know, you have no jab. So even in a larger cage, I think he still gets it done. Maybe not second round, but I think he still gets it done.
Yeah. No, I at the end also, I don't know how I feel about his call out
hey, what are we doing?
To fight Diaz.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Go up.
You don't know. you know, if you're Luque, you know that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Diaz is just in it for the big money fights right now. Diaz probably doesn't have to fight ever again if he didn't want to. He'd just show up to, you know, weed shops, knock out some signings if he wanted to make a couple of extra bucks.
Yeah.
I know he's raked in a few million going up against Masvidal and Conor twice. Yeah. Right? And
the only fight that's going to get him out of bed is a Conor fight or a Masvidal fight, in my opinion. And why even do anything else? You know, if you're Nate. I agree.
Yeah, and I think Nate has also said that he doesn't care about the belt. He's said it plenty of times. He just wants to get paid. And Luque will not get you paid.
No.
Diaz versus Luque, probably not even a co-main event on a pay-per-view card. It could definitely headline fight night, but nothing to get Diaz out of bed for. So
no, not to get him on the
wasted
on the
opportunity
trails.
to call out. Wasted opportunity to call out.
Especially in that division, man. Like, he can call out a number of guys. That welterweight division is stacked. You know what I want to see is him versus what's the guy's name? Damn it, hold on.
Oh, that guy?
That guy, you know the guy.
Yeah, dude. That guy for sure.
What is his name?
Has he fought recently?
No, I'll pull it up right now. I got the rankings loading right now.
Somebody in the top 10.
Jeff Neal.
Oh, okay.
I want to see him fight Jeff Neal. Jeff Neal's
That'd
scary.
be a good one. Yep. That'd be a good one.
Yeah. But
Wasted call out.
Wasted call out. I also don't know if he were to call out Jeff Neal, I think people would be like, who? I don't think Jeff Neal is the household name yet that he should be. I think he has the talent to be a household name, and he will be eventually, I think. But even then, you call out Jeff Neal, only a few people are going to be like, dang, that's a risky call out. Most people are going to be like, Jeff Neal got 2 first names. You know?
Never trust a guy with 2 first names.
Yeah.
All right, man. The next one was Calderwood versus Maia.
Yeah. Man, what a crazy card that's the next fight. Now we're at the co-main already. Come on. 8 fights. Fucking crazy, man. Yeah, this was what was that?
It was another quick card.
Another quick card. It was 8:15 here in the past.
In the
when
past,
it was over. I mean, it seemed like the UFC gave Jojo this fight so that we can just hurry up and get her to fight Shevchenko,
yes.
Because who else is Shevchenko going to fight? And Maia was like, fuck that. I'm taking that title shot. I mean, she came out guns blazing,
Yeah, after the fight, I mean, it was a small sample from this fight at least.
Yeah.
But she looked fantastic, man.
She looked really good.
I know
she's
a black belt on the ground, right?
Plus 180 undercard or underdog going into that.
The way she set up the armbar from omoplata to then threatening for a triangle, never let go of her arms, kept it tucked right at the elbow.
Yeah.
And then went into the armbar. And as soon as she sank that armbar in, I was like, oh, she's done. And then Calderwood tried to put her knee on Maia's neck.
She kind of dropped it on her neck. She didn't just set it down. She kind of dropped it.
But as soon as she did that, it gave Maia leverage.
Yeah.
To be able to roll her over and get herself in a better position for the armbar. Tuck the arm under the armpit to give her more leverage, better angle, and that's all she wrote, right?
That's all she wrote until a little bit later, and Jojo became the second fighter to pass out of the night.
She passed out too?
Yeah, she passed out backstage after the fight. They had to take her to the hospital. She's fine now.
Damn, man.
Yeah, no one knows what happened, but yeah, she also passed out.
Man, so much drama.
Just a weird card, dude. Weird card.
Man. I mean, that's all I really had for the fight. I think the fight was something like 34 seconds or 31 seconds or something like that.
It was quick.
Was it?
It was,
yeah.
30 seconds.
It was really quick, so.
30 seconds. But yeah, she looked good.
There you go, like I said. Not the largest sample, but her head movement was good.
Yeah, and you go to the ground, you get an armbar in 30 seconds against someone who's been in the game for a while. I mean, that type of ambition on the ground is fun to watch, Not just going to take it lightly that, we're on the ground. I'm going to start thinking things through. It's like, nope, I'm coming for something, and that kind of tenacity is cool to see on the ground.
Nothing against Calderwood, man, but I just never saw her as somebody that should be even competing for a belt.
No disrespect, but the only reason she was even talked about getting a title fight is because that division is shallow.
I think she's a product of her environment right now.
Yeah.
Right? She has looked better since moving to Vegas. I think she's training out of Randy Couture's Extreme Couture, if I remember correctly. But
could be, yeah.
Still, when I see a Shevchenko, and if we were to toss Calderwood into the octagon, she's like a sacrificial lamb at that point.
But who isn't?
But taking a look at Maia, again, small sample size, I would still rather see Maia versus Shevchenko rather than Calderwood versus Shevchenko.
Yeah, and you look at the rankings, and
not much, right?
Not much, man. Maia's 6th. Don't need to see Jessica I fight ever again. Lauren Murphy, then Jojo. Cynthia Calvillo I'm a fan of her, but again, I don't see her being anything other than a sacrificial lamb to Shevchenko.
something crazy would have to happen for Cynthia Calvillo to win via submission.
Yeah.
She's not going to beat her on her feet. Not going to happen.
Not going to beat her on points.
So she's going to have to take her down some way, shape, or form quickly before she takes a lot of damage. She's going to get hurt trying to get in close against Shevchenko. And then her only hope is Shevchenko making a mistake and getting caught in something.
Yeah, which does not happen very often. She does not make a lot of mistakes.
Shevchenko might go down as, for sure, a GOAT in her division, but as one of the best fighters in women fighting, period.
Yeah, she very well could. The only thing that's going to go against her for that campaign is the level of competition, and that's no fault of hers, you know. She can't control that.
No. So all the dads out there with girls and daughters, start raising your daughters to be ready to fight in this division, please, because we need more. We need more fighters.
It would be interesting if Zhang Weili, if she kept beating everybody, if she went up, because she's a tank. If she went up and fought Shevchenko, fun fight. The only thing, though, is
love that.
Yeah, she does play into Shevchenko's strengths almost perfectly.
She does.
So who knows what would even happen then, you know?
But if we were even get anything remotely close to Jan Jacek versus Weili. Yes.
Yeah.
If we get anything even remotely close to that, man, with Shevchenko, it'd be totally worth it.
Yeah, I think, but the only difference is Shevchenko's, where Joanna is overwhelm you with constant strikes up and down your body. Shevchenko is, you come at me, I'm going to counter with power that really not many females have in the sport. So like it's not gonna be I don't think a constant high pace fight like that, you know. It would just be her blasting her as she tries to come in, you know.
Yep, I would love to see that though.
Or Zhang Weili punishes her for 5 straight rounds and could potentially finish her if she catches her and just beats her down with that pace, you know. I don't think, have we seen Shevchenko get pushed to a crazy pace? I don't think we ever have.
No, I mean, some of her best fights have been against Jan Jacek before this division was around. You know, those were really good fights, but
much more tactical.
Yeah.
You know.
But that's about it.
Yeah. I mean, she fought Nunes a few times, right?
I was going to say maybe Nunes versus Shevchenko.
So they've done it already, right?
Dude, I'll see it again. Again, what else are you going to see in Shevchenko's division right now?
Yeah. I think Nunes retires before that even happens, though.
Yeah. You're probably right, man. All right, let's go on to the main event.
Yeah, main event. Your boy, Edmund.
Your boy.
not Edmund, but Edmund. I don't speak Armenian, but I saw people saying what the corner advice translated to in between rounds.
Head movement?
No, it was more you better get up and fight. After that second round where he was clearly fucked up and not even in his own mind, it's you better get up and fight and take it to him. Like, don't quit, which is maybe the worst corner advice you can give. You know?
I mean, yeah. And
like, I know it's fun to shit on him and everybody shits on him and he knows way more about fighting than I do, but what are we doing here? You know?
Yeah. Dude, I was excited about this fight, right? You have the 8th ranked middleweight versus the 9th ranked middleweight. It's always fun when you get these types of matchups.
The ultimate middleweight gatekeeper.
Yeah, in Brunson, right?
Yeah, But and no disrespect with that.
No disrespect. Here we go again, man, with the no disrespect.
Yeah. I mean, it's true, though. I mean, people like to say gatekeeper. He's just a gatekeeper. He's just a gatekeeper. But when you're that high-level gatekeeper, you're the person that decides who gets to the top 5 versus who stays below it. You're top level in the whole world. You know, it's not like, I mean, if you're a top 10 gatekeeper, even the same thing. You know, you're a small percentage, cream of the crop. You know.
Yep.
So, I don't mean that with disrespect.
Sure. We had Shahbazyan, coming in, I think it was 11 wins, 10 by first round knockout. So it's already an impressive record as he's coming in. He's been training forever since he was 12 years old, I think they said.
With you see videos of him when he first started training is because, and he would roll with Ronda because they were similar size because he was not a full grown man yet, and that
and
people shit on Ronda too
all the time.
Yeah, people shit on Ronda too. But you know what you don't shit on Ronda for is her grappling. You know.
Yep.
I mean, you're
Exactly.
rolling with, if you're the same size as Ronda, you're a young kid, you're still developing, and you're rolling with someone like Ronda. That's legit. That's super legit. Shaping, you know, molding.
No, molding. Yeah, absolutely. You're talking about one of the highest level grapplers, an Olympian in judo, and for him to have that experience since the age of 12, I think he's another example though, somebody that kind of has fallen in love with their power. You know, he has a skill set. He has a lot of different skill sets, and they say that he's one of those fighters that come from a younger generation that grow up with MMA,
Yeah.
and not so much focusing in on one specific
Discipline.
martial art,
Yeah.
one discipline. You know, and he's still very good. He's going
Yeah.
to be very good for a long time. It's a lesson learned. I had a bad feeling as soon as he started walking out with that jazz music, and I was like, dude, this is not good. This is not good. That's a bad sign to start off. But I was happy to see Brunson get that W.
Yeah.
And after coming in, Shahbazyan was a minus 360 favorite. Brunson says, put some respect on my name
Yeah.
with the way that he finished that fight. He
100%.
really did.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the Brunson I expected to see coming out. Because Brunson, usually that first round is a hurricane.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, if you're able to survive that first round against Brunson, your chances of beating him get a lot better. But he was just so patient and calculated throughout the entire fight. And I was very, very happy to see Brunson come away with that W.
Yeah, me too. I like Brunson a lot. Like I said, the whole gatekeeper thing. But like, if you look at his losses, 21 wins, 7 losses. He's had some ups and downs. But I mean, you go back to, if we go back to 2012, his only losses are Jacare, Yoel Romero, Robert Whitaker, Anderson Silva in a fight that I think he won, Jacare again, and Adesanya.
Oh my God.
He's literally only losing to the best of the best. You know, it's not like he's losing to all these random no-name guys. And I think that's why they gave him Edmen, is because it's similar to Izzy. Granted, Izzy had a much more extended career before he came into the UFC. But you give one of these up-and-coming, at the time, Izzy, at least in the UFC's world, was an up-and-coming guy. You give him someone like Brunson because now we get to see if you are legit. Because if you beat Brunson, you're legit. You know, so people look at that record and 7 losses, and and when he does lose, I mean, he loses. You know what I mean? Like Izzy knocked him out, Jacare knocked him out, Whitaker knocked him out, Yoel knocked him out. Like, it's not like he's just like losing decisions to these top guys. So I think that kind of taints people's vision of him or perception of him because they see him get finished. But it's not like he's getting finished by absolute murderers, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
you know, and I know we gave Herb Dean a hard time on the last podcast. And I think he deserved it based
100%.
off of, his reffing last time. But I want to give him props for this one.
Yeah.
You know, the ground and pound at the end of the second round by Brunson was brutal, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely brutal.
It looked like old school, like Mark
stop
Coleman.
the fight.
Yeah, It was brutal.
That last right hand that Brunson threw, and then after the horn sounded, the way I knew it was over, because the way that Edmen stood up looks like the way I stand up when my alarm goes off in the morning. He kind of just like shakes it off and like forcefully gets up and rolls over and walks back to his corner half asleep. That's how I get up every single morning. I was like, oh, dude's out of it. Right? But then, he had the doctor check on him. He asked him multiple times, do you want to continue? At that point, Edmen was terrified to say, no, I don't want to continue because of the advice he apparently got from his corner. He did not want to go back out there, man.
No.
His body language, his face, and granted, he probably wasn't all there, but it just didn't seem like anybody that wanted to take another step towards Brunson.
Yeah, I think that was that's a critique I have of that doctor. It's like, just because you're going to ask a fighter in a main event if he wants to continue, and when he says yes, that's good enough for you. What the fuck are we doing here? What do you expect him to be like? No, you know what? I'm a little out of it right now. Maybe we should call it. No fighter's going to say that. That doesn't happen.
No, absolutely not.
And
again,
props to
especially
her for being and because of that, that's why I give props to Herb, is because the doctor okayed it, but you could tell from the end of that second round, Herb was he was only looking at him. That's all he was focused on.
He was all over.
Yeah.
And he was very quick to react, right? He saw his body language. He saw he was still out of it. Mm-hmm. And he didn't let Edmen take too much damage as soon as the third round started. As soon as he went down, Herb Dean jumped in right away, and I thought it was a beautiful stoppage, man.
Yeah, because the trip that Brunson landed on him at the end of the third, that wasn't a real trip. Like, he just kind of went down, and
equilibrium was still off.
Yeah, he's still out of it. He's not there. His gas tank is completely gone. Who knows if he even knows what round it is? Who knows where he might not even know where he is? As ridiculous as that sounds, it's a real thing.
It's true. Honestly, the last thing he probably remembers is Edmen telling him, "Take it to him."
Yeah.
You better not. You better get back in there and take it to him. That's honestly probably the last thing that he remembers coming to a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. So he's like, "Is this the first round? Is this?"
Yeah. Is it fight over?
Yeah, and what's weird is you look at that stoppage and if you only saw that stoppage, you'd be like, that was maybe the earliest stoppage I've ever seen. Like, he didn't really land any shots. But you compound it with everything else from the end of the second, and a perfect stoppage. Perfect stoppage.
Exactly,
you could argue,
stoppage, so.
Yeah, you could argue that Herb should have called it at the end of the second anyways, but
he was close. You could see he was right there, man.
Yeah, but he did not. The reason you would argue say that you should stop it at the end of the second is because he doesn't need to take more damage, and he also didn't let him take any more damage regardless.
Exactly.
So I think it's fine.
And I think
not just fine, I think it was a great stoppage.
By the way, did you see that video that he posted on Instagram explaining his stoppage, how it wasn't a bad stoppage?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, was a little cringy for me. It's like, dude, just, do your job. If you feel like you did the right thing, then you feel like you did the right thing, and you don't have to explain it to anybody else.
Yeah.
Right? But one of the things that he did explain on there was that the two people that should be telling him to stop the fight are the corner and the doctor.
Yeah.
And for Herb, I could see why he would wait for Shahbazyan to go back to his corner to see how his corner reacts and to see what the doctor says. He still didn't like what he saw, so he stopped it quickly after he saw that he was going to end up taking more punishment. So again, props to Herb Dean. I would love to see Edmen versus Uriah Hall next, man.
Oh, that'd be a cool fight. That would be a cool fight. But Hall is fighting Yoel.
Yeah, Hall is fighting, but I'm just thinking about different people in the division. Right?
Yeah.
I see where Edmen is ranked. I see where Uriah Hall is ranked. I take a look at their strengths and weaknesses. And I think that would be a nice bounce back fight for Shahbazyan. Not to say he would just run over Hall, but it'd be a fun fight. And then taking a look at Brunson, man, give me Brunson versus Gastelum.
I was going to say, that's the only answer.
Give me Brunson versus Gastelum.
Yeah.
I would love that fight.
Yeah. Unfortunately, I like Brunson, but I think Gastelum KOs him. But I do want to see that fight. And he could prove, he was he was a 380 underdog or something crazy going into this fight.
360, I believe.
It looks like at the end when they closed, Sportsbet had him at 309. That was the highest. But
wow.
But he was higher earlier in the week probably. But he still showed the holes in his game, even in this fight, that I think are the holes that get him finished by really good strikers. And I think Gastelum, finished because, man, I like Brunson, but it's frustrating as hell watching him strike because his chin, he leads with his chin. And when he fights Jacare or Adesanya or Yoel, these really good counter strikers, it's like, man, you rush in throwing these long shots with your chin sticking straight out and you just get clipped. And I think Gastelum stays in the pocket so well when you go toe to toe with him that I think if his chin's out, Gastelum's going to drop him. And he, like I said, he might prove me wrong, but and that doesn't mean I don't want to. Gastelum has the
power to make sure he finishes it.
Yeah, and I don't think that fight shouldn't happen just because that's what obviously it should. I think it should happen. I'd love to see that fight. That's a great fight.
And again, taking a look at the rankings and taking a look at their styles, I think it just makes for a matchup that would be fun to watch, and at the same time something that would make sense for the division and the rankings to see, who would move up after that fight. So
and I think it's one that you can make relatively soon. Brunson did get clipped a little bit in that first round, but nothing that it's really going to set him back for a while. And obviously Gastelum took 0 real damage in his last fight,
Yeah, and I didn't call out a story of the fight on this one, Will, because for me the real story wasn't necessarily, nothing jumped out to me enough to call it out. But the thing I would call out is, for anybody that likes to place wagers on the UFC, you really got to take a look at some of these dogs, man.
Sometimes they get it wrong.
You think? We take a look at Shahbazyan again, minus 360 favorite. So if you bet on Brunson, you would have cashed in quite a bit. And with Brunson, again, taking a look at his experience versus Shahbazyan, it wouldn't have been a crazy pick to just go with Brunson. Taking a look at Calderwood. Calderwood came in a favorite as well.
Yeah.
She ends up losing, right? Luque was a favorite, so he won that. Vannata came in minus 155 favorite.
Yeah, Bobby Green.
So another dog.
Imagine you did a parlay with Bobby Green, Maia, and Brunson. Not the worst parlay in the world. You would have cashed out hard.
So for me, that's one of the biggest takeaways for me, and one of the biggest stories is that I love the sport, right? But I don't place wagers. I don't bet a lot of money on the sport. I have that fun fantasy league like I was talking about that with the UFC, but it's really hard to understand. Now, if you, as a fan, follow it religiously and you're able to pick up on some huge mismatches, or, if you're able to pick up when Vegas gets something wrong right away, I think Cory pointed out the fact that when he saw the Rousey versus Holmes line, he put money on Holmes right away because Rousey was talking about how she's going to be able to stand with Holmes. Holmes, multiple, boxing championships. He's like, easy money.
Yeah.
So in cases like that, absolutely play some major wagers. But other than that, man, my story is be careful when you're placing wagers in MMA because, you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I would bet way more if my bookie would take my deposits and let me actually spend money on their website. I don't know what it is. They just it keeps tipping my accounts as fraud, even though I go to my banks and tell them we're good, and they're like, yeah, you're clear. And then I try to deposit, and they're like, no,
how dare they?
Yeah, my bookie keeps saying you have a block in your account, and then I go to my bank, and they're like, nope, you're clear. You can spend it wherever you want. So I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's probably saved me money.
Probably, man. It might be a good thing. All right, man. So a couple things. I did have a listener question coming in from Cory. We just talked about that. So he says, can you talk about thoughts of Khabib still wanting GSP if he beats Gaethje? I think it's worse than the Conor rematch, but Dana said since Khabib has done so much for him, he'll let Khabib handpick his last fight. What do you think about that? He said he thinks
it's worse than...
Yeah, he thinks that him facing GSP would be worse than a Conor rematch. That's one of the things that we put out, Will, was a little disagreement between you and I on, the Conor rematch, and then we thought GSP might be a good one. He thinks that would be worse. What do you think?
I disagree wholeheartedly. I think that if you're not going to do Tony, if he's only doing 2, which it seems like he's only going to do 2 because, he was the one that said Gaethje, then GSP. Sounds like he's going to be done after 2. That was the plan the whole time. 30-0, blah, blah, blah. If you're not going to do Tony, I think Tony's the easier fight to make for the UFC, logistically. It's going to be hard to get GSP to take that fight. But if you can, I would much rather see GSP fight Khabib over anybody else. And since then, I don't know if you saw last night, GSP debuted on a Canadian broadcast team and said that he's still in shape, but he would still need a complete training camp to be ready for the fight. He said that the UFC knows his phone number, and if the UFC has an offer that he can't refuse, they know where he stands. So GSP is not ruling it out. So it sounds super far-fetched, but like I said in that episode that clip where we talked about that, you cannot force Khabib to do anything he doesn't want to do. I don't think that he'll ever fight Conor again. I don't think he needs to. We already went over that, but if he wants GSP, I can see the UFC pushing that. And I think if we're talking about legacy fights, outside of Stipe versus DC for the third time, I think GSP versus Khabib, while Khabib's 29-0, is the most. If you're looking at legacy fights, that is the most.
Well, like the riskiest towards his legacy?
No, I think that's the most. No matter which way it goes, that is the best fight to cement a legacy for both of them. GSP already has his legacy. Khabib, I think, already has his own legacy. But if he finishes it with beating two-time champ, greatest of all time, Georges St-Pierre, granted, there's caveats there because he's been retired for how long? He's been doing it forever. It's not his weight class. All these things, right? There's almost like some built-in excuses for GSP to lose that fight if it is going to be down at 155. But then for GSP, you look at GSP's now. If GSP wins that fight, he's already considered by many the greatest of all time. He retires, comes back, wins the middleweight belt with a finish, then retires again. It's just so consistently on top and professional. 2 belts now. And then he comes back again out of retirement and beats considered the best lightweight of all time in Khabib and wins his 3rd belt in his 3rd division and then retires again. I mean, if he does that, you cannot argue against him being the greatest of all time, in my opinion. That cements GSP as the best mixed martial artist ever. You know?
And I don't think it's too far-fetched, right? Because I think that for a while there, people thought that him coming back to fight Bisping was far-fetched. Money talks. It wasn't his division either.
Money talks and matchup talks. You know, he didn't come back to fight Whitaker. Bisping gets the belt, and I could win that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's something that's possible. When I think about what Cory asked her, I think that he might also be thinking about, let's say GSP comes back, right? Let's say that he beats Khabib. He wins the belt. Then he retires again. Now Khabib retires.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves, I guess, what, Gaethje,
Ferguson, Poirier, Conor.
Ferguson again.
Let's do a tournament.
Let's do a tournament at that point. Is that where you would go? Because now you're saying, okay, now I'm going to toss all these fighters into this tournament, and the guys that really should have the belt just up and ran off. Where if Conor possibly comes back, and I know I'm going to get shit for this again, but if Conor comes back, wins the title, let's say he just happens to catch Khabib with that straight left that does damage, right?
Yeah.
Takes him out. Then Conor holds on to the belt. He loves the limelight. He's not going anywhere anytime soon. He always talks about retiring. He's retired more than GSP at this point.
He's retired more times than most people fight.
Yes, but he's still in the rankings because Dana knows
he just went up in the rankings.
Talked to him already. Well, there you go. He did, dude. He got more whiskey sales and he goes up in the rankings, dude.
Yeah, he called out another boxer and he moved up in the rankings.
There you go, man. That's all it takes with Dana White. That's his boy, though, right?
Yeah.
So you know that they've already talked, and he knows Conor's not really retired. He wants a fight, and if he wins that belt, he's probably going to be holding on to it as long as he can. More big money fights coming on down the road. So I guess, again, without more clarity from Cory, he's probably coming from that angle. GSP wins. He retires again. He's not defending his belt. He just leaves it up there for some other folks to go after the belt. Again, not saying that they're bad fighters. Like you said, Poirier, Ferguson, Gaethje, all great fighters. But it kind of takes away from the, I don't know, like legitimacy, I guess,
of the belt,
of them holding that belt.
Yeah, I can see that, but I would counterpoint with Conor has won 2 division belts, 2 different division belts, and he's never defended a belt once.
True.
So if he comes in and wins a belt, I don't necessarily... I'm not convinced that he's going to take out number 1 contenders left and right, you know?
There you go.
Where someone like Tony or Gaethje or Poirier, who fill in that void if whoever wins between GSP Khabib retires, all of those 3 guys, I think, defend until they lose.
And Gaethje versus Poirier again, you know, I would love to see Gaethje be the champion. I would love to see Poirier be the champion. There's so many names in there. It just seems like it's filled with like just good guys.
Savages.
Good guys that deserve to have the belt, you know? So
and imagine,
I'm excited to see what the future holds.
Yeah, and the rematch between if say Gaethje beats Khabib right now and gets the belt, or he loses, Khabib fights GSP, whoever wins retires, blah blah blah. And you have Gaethje fight Poirier again with a belt on the line. Yeah, Poirier finished him in their first fight, but that was a big turning point in Gaethje's mentality and his career. He said he felt like he was having too much fun in there, and then he gets caught, and that changed his whole approach. And we've seen it, especially against Ferguson. So I think that new and improved mentality with Gaethje versus a Poirier for the rematch could be an absolute war.
Man, I agree with you 100%. Seeing if the Gaethje that we just saw recently comes in against Poirier again, it might be a different story.
Yeah, and I could still see Poirier winning that fight easily. I think if they fight 10 times, it might be 5-5, to be honest. They're just both they can just land so much damage, Well,
let's hope that we see that rematch later on down the road, sir.
Yeah.
One more thing I want to do, I want to give some shout-outs, if you don't mind, to some folks that actually left us some comments on YouTube. So we have a Bassett22, Stin Agu, Cuvier, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Kurt, Jermaine, Berserker, and Tony. Just appreciate the love.
I saw Mindy throwing out some fire emojis too. Yeah,
Mindy throwing out some fire emojis. Just so anybody that takes the time to listen to us and leave comments, it goes a long way. I know that we get a kick out of the comments as well. We'll be texting each other, calling each other, just laughing about some of the stuff that's said. But yeah, I mean, the more we get, the better, right?
Yeah, I'll give a couple shout outs too. George from Marina Best Buy. I showed him. We talked about fights a few times. So I showed him, and he is super down with us. Liked it a lot, so thank you, George.
Thank you, George.
Yeah, Samwise shipped out to the Navy, but he was listening when we were first starting and talking to me about it, giving me feedback. So shout out to Samwise always, and my buddy Coleslaw. Coleslaw. He's also he said keep uploading stuff so I can stop listening to Errol Hawani talk. So shout out to Coleslaw.
Thank you, Coleslaw, for sure. And then we got to give a shout out to our boy JC, who's listening to our podcast right now. Right, so stay up, JC. Keep up the good fight, my man. And that's all I got. Well, do you have anything else?
Nope, that's about it for me.
Well, that's all we got. Thank you very much for listening to Story of the Fight, y'all.
If you want to keep updated with what we're doing, you can follow us at Story of the Fight on Instagram. And if you want to submit anything that you want us to talk about or have any questions about anything, you can email us at storyofthefight@gmail.com.
Also, don't forget to subscribe. Hit the subscribe button, and when you do, that little bell pops up right next to it. Click on that as well so you get notified whenever we do anything new, whenever we upload anything new. And also, don't forget to hit that like button. It goes a long way for us, everybody. Thanks a lot for listening to Story of the Fight.